What if I told you that one of the most pivotal moments in biblical history hinged on a young woman's split-second decision at a well? A decision that would not only determine her own fate, but reshape the destiny of an entire nation. Meet Rebekah, the woman who dared to choose her own path when others would have waited for life to happen to them. Her story is filled with divine encounters, family deception, and moments of incredible courage that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about biblical women. From a chance meeting with a mysterious stranger to orchestrating one of the most controversial schemes in Scripture, Rebekah's journey proves that sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is take control of your own destiny. But before we dive in, if you're new to this channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. Also, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is. We'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, let's begin, shall we? The Oracle and the Oath, a destiny foretold. Abraham stands at the edge of his life. The promise given to him decades earlier that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars now rests on a single thread. One son, Isaac, born when hope seemed lost, when Sarah laughed at the very thought of bearing a child in her old age. But now Sarah is gone. The cave of Machpelah holds her body, purchased at great price from the Hittites. Abraham feels the weight of his years. 140 years have passed since his birth in Ur of the Chaldeans. The promise cannot die with him. Isaac remains unmarried. He lives among the Canaanites, surrounded by peoples who worship other gods. Abraham knows what must not happen. His son cannot take a wife from these neighbors. The covenant must pass through a woman who understands the God who called Abraham from his father's house, who led him across deserts and through famines, who gave him a son against all natural possibility. The patriarch calls his most trusted servant. Ancient Near Eastern texts from this period reveal that chief household servants held extraordinary authority. They managed vast estates, conducted trade negotiations, and represented their masters in matters of highest importance. This servant, traditionally identified as Eliezer of Damascus, has served Abraham for decades. He knows every detail of the household, every possession, every promise. Abraham makes him swear an oath. The gesture is specific, intimate, ancient. The servant places his hand under Abraham's thigh, a practice documented in early Semitic cultures that bound the oath to the very life and lineage of the master. The words are clear. Travel to my homeland, to my relatives in Mesopotamia, find a wife for Isaac there, bring her back. The servant asks the natural question, what if she refuses to come? Should I then take Isaac there? Abraham's response reveals the depth of his faith. The Lord who brought me from my father's house will send his angel before you. You will find a wife for my son there. But if the woman is unwilling, you are released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there. The servant understands. The promise moves forward, not backward. Isaac must remain in Canaan, the land of the covenant. The bride must be willing to leave everything and come to him. He prepares for the journey. 10 camels, a fortune in transport animals. Gifts from Abraham's wealth, gold, silver, fine garments. Everything speaks of prosperity, of divine blessing. Archaeological evidence from Bronze Age Mesopotamia shows that such bridal expeditions were serious diplomatic and economic ventures. Marriages, united clans, established trade routes, secured alliances. But this journey carries more than economic significance. This journey carries the weight of divine promise. Somewhere in the distant lands of Mesopotamia, a woman waits. She does not yet know that her life is about to change forever. She does not yet know that she will become the mother of nations, that her choices will shape the covenant people for generations to come. The servant sets out. The camels move steadily across the wilderness between Canaan and Mesopotamia. Days pass. The landscape changes. The dry hills of Canaan give way to the river plains of the north. He travels the same route Abraham took decades earlier, but in reverse, moving toward the past to secure the future. He carries with him more than gifts. He carries an oath sworn under the most solemn circumstances. He carries the future of the covenant. He carries, though he does not fully know it yet, the destiny of a woman who will prove herself worthy of that weight. The journey takes weeks. The ancient trade routes between Canaan and Mesopotamia stretched over 400 miles. Caravans moved slowly, stopping at wells and settlements. The servant has time to think, to pray, to wonder. How will he know the right woman? How can he be certain? Abraham said the Lord would send his angel. The servant clings to this promise. He does not travel alone. The God who called Abraham travels with him. The God who gave Isaac against all odds will provide a bride. As the camels approach the region of Nahor, the servant begins to formulate a plan. He needs a sign, something specific, something that will reveal not just a suitable bride, but the bride, the one chosen by God for this purpose. The sun moves lower in the sky. Ahead, he sees the walls of a city. Near it, a well. The evening hour approaches. Soon, women will come to draw water. It is the perfect place to wait, to watch, to pray. The servant stops the camels near the well. He makes them kneel down. The moment has arrived. Everything that follows will determine whether the oath can be fulfilled, whether the promise will continue, whether Isaac will have a wife who can bear the children of the covenant. He does not yet know that the answer to his mission is already walking toward him. That a young woman named Rebekah is about to step into her destiny. That within moments, the prayer he is about to pray will be answered in a way that leaves no doubt. This is the Lord's doing. The oath has been sworn, the journey has been made. Now comes the test. The prayer at the well, a divine appointment. The camels rest near the well of Nahor. Evening settles over the city. The servant of Abraham stands in a foreign land, surrounded by the wealth of his master, carrying the weight of an oath. He needs certainty. He needs a sign. He prays. The prayer is specific, detailed, almost audacious. Lord God of my master Abraham, give me success today and show kindness to my master. I am standing beside this spring. The daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a young woman, please let down your jar that I may have a drink, and she says, drink, and I will water your camels too. Let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. It is a test of character. Drawing water for one man is courtesy. Drawing water for 10 thirsty camels is something else entirely. Camels can drink 20 to 30 gallons after a long journey. The work would be exhausting. The young woman who offers such service would reveal a heart of extraordinary generosity and strength. Before he finishes speaking, she appears. Rebekah comes down to the spring with her water jar on her shoulder. The text pauses to describe her. Very beautiful, a virgin. No man had known her. She descends to the spring, fills her jar, and comes back up. The servant runs to meet her. His urgency suggests he already senses something. Please give me a little water from your jar, he says. Her response comes without hesitation. Drink, my lord. She quickly lowers the jar to her hands and gives him a drink. She does not stop there. After he drinks, she says, I will draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking. She quickly empties her jar into the trough, runs back to the well to draw more water, and draws enough for all his camels. The servant watches her in silence. He does not interrupt. He does not offer to help. He simply watches, wondering whether the Lord has made his journey successful. He needs to be sure. The sign must complete itself fully. Rebekah works. The labor is intense. Ancient wells in this region typically require descending steps to reach the water level. She goes down, fills the heavy jar, climbs back up, empties it into the stone trough, then descends again, and again, for 10 camels. Studies of ancient water-carrying practices reveal that a filled pottery jar could weigh 40 to 50 pounds. Rebekah makes trip after trip. Her strength is evident. Her willingness to serve a stranger, to complete a task she volunteered for without complaint or expectation of reward, reveals her character more clearly than any conversation could. When the camels finish drinking, the servant acts. He takes a gold nose ring weighing a beka, about 1/5 of an ounce, and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels, roughly 4 ounces of gold given before he even knows her family. The gesture is both a test and a commitment. He asks the question that matters. Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? Her answer transforms everything. I'm the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. This is not just any woman from Mesopotamia. This is family, Abraham's own kin. The servant sent to find a bride from among Abraham's relatives has been led directly to his great niece. She continues, we have plenty of straw and fodder and room for you to spend the night. The servant bows down and worships the Lord. Praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and faithfulness to my master. The Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives." The prayer was answered before he finished speaking it. The sign was fulfilled completely, more than fulfilled. The woman who offered such generous service turns out to be the very family Abraham hoped for. Rebekah runs home to tell her mother's household what has happened. She still wears the gold jewelry. She still carries the story of the stranger at the well, his camels, his prayer, his gifts. She does not yet know the full meaning of what has just occurred. She does not yet know that her willingness to serve, her strength, her initiative, has marked her as chosen. She does not yet know that she has just passed a test designed by a desperate servant and a faithful God. She knows only that something remarkable has happened at the well, that a stranger asked for water, and she gave it, that she offered to serve his animals and did so, that he gave her gold and asked about her family, that he worshipped when he heard her father's name. She runs to tell them. Her feet carry her quickly through the streets. Her heart beats fast. The jewelry is heavy on her hands and nose. The evening light catches the gold. Behind her at the well, the servant gathers the camels. He prepares to follow her home. He has found what he came for. The oath can be fulfilled. The promise can continue. The sun sets over Nahor. The day that began with a prayer ends with praise. The woman who came to draw water for her family has drawn water for her destiny. She does not yet know it, but she has just taken the first step toward becoming the matriarch of nations. The well stands silent again, but the water drawn there today will ripple through generations. The choice made there, her choice to serve beyond what was asked, will echo through the centuries. Rebekah runs home. The servant follows. The story moves forward. The invitation, a house welcomes destiny. Rebekah bursts into her mother's household. The gold gleams on her hands and nose. Her words tumble out, the stranger, the camels, the water, the gifts, his prayer, his worship when he heard her father's name. Her brother Laban sees the jewelry. He hears the story. Ancient Near Eastern customs place significant responsibility on the bride's male relatives in marriage negotiations. Laban acts immediately. He goes out to the man at the spring. By now, others have gathered. A wealthy caravan resting near the well draws attention, but the servant waits, patient, faithful to his purpose. Laban approaches. "Come, you who are blessed by the Lord. Why are you standing out here? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." The greeting acknowledges divine favor. Laban recognizes something sacred in this visit. He has seen the gold. He has heard his sister's account. He understands that this is no ordinary traveler. The servant follows Laban into the house. The camels are unloaded, straw and fodder are provided for them. Water is brought for the servant and his men to wash their feet, a standard gesture of hospitality in desert cultures where feet become covered in dust and grime from travel. Food is set before them. The household has prepared a meal, but the servant refuses to eat. "I will not eat until I have told you what I have to say." The statement carries weight. In a culture where sharing a meal creates obligation and relationship, refusing food until after delivering a message signals the supreme importance of that message. Nothing can come before the purpose of his journey. Laban responds, "Then tell us." The servant begins. He tells the whole story. Every detail matters. He starts from the beginning. "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. He establishes Abraham's status. In ancient Mesopotamian culture, wealth indicated divine favor. A prosperous man had the blessing of the gods. The servant needs the family to understand that this proposal comes from a man whom the Lord has blessed." He continues, "My master's wife Sarah bore him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. The inheritance is secure. Isaac is no younger son competing for position. He is the sole heir to Abraham's fortune. The promise runs through him alone." Then comes the oath. "My master made me swear an oath and said, 'You will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I live, but go to my father's family and to my own clan and get a wife for my son.'" He explains the purpose. Not just any bride, a bride from among Abraham's own people, family, kin, those who might understand the God who called Abraham. He recounts his question to Abraham. What if the woman will not come back with me? He shares Abraham's answer. The Lord will send his angel with you and make your journey a success. Now comes the heart of the account. The prayer at the well, the specific sign requested, the appearance of Rebekah before the prayer was finished, her exact fulfillment of every detail, her identity as Bethuel's daughter, granddaughter of Nahor, Abraham's brother. The servant's voice carries conviction. Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water, and I said to her, "Please give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I'll water your camels too." So I drank, and she watered the camels also. He describes his worship, his recognition of the Lord's guidance, his certainty that this is divine appointment, not human chance. Now, if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me. And if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn. He places the decision before them. He has told the whole story. He has shown how the Lord led him to their house. He has demonstrated Abraham's wealth and Isaac's position. Now they must answer. Laban and Bethuel respond together. This is from the Lord. We can say nothing to you one way or the other. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed. They recognize the hand of God. They see the remarkable chain of events. They acknowledge that they have no authority to refuse what the Lord has ordained. When Abraham's servant hears their words, he bows down to the ground before the Lord. Then he brings out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gives them to Rebekah. He also gives costly gifts to her brother and her mother. The gifts formalize the agreement. Marriage negotiations in the ancient Near East involved bride price, compensation to the family for the loss of their daughter's labor and presence. The servant gives generously. The gold speaks of Abraham's wealth. The clothing indicates status. The gifts to Laban and the mother honor the family. Then and only then the servant and his men eat and drink. They spend the night in Bethuel's house. The meal shared after the agreement seals the relationship. They are no longer strangers. They are family, bound by covenant and commitment. But the servant's urgency has not diminished. When they rise in the morning, he says, "Send me on my way to my master." Laban and Rebekah's mother ask for a delay. "Let the young woman remain with us 10 days or so, then she may go." Ancient customs often allowed a period between betrothal and departure, time for the family to prepare, to celebrate, to say farewell. 10 days is not long, but for a family about to lose a daughter to a distant land, every day matters. The servant refuses. "Do not detain me, now that the Lord has granted success to my journey. Send me on my way so I may go to my master." The moment of truth approaches. The family has agreed. The servant has completed his mission. Only one voice remains to be heard, the voice that matters most, the question, a woman's choice. Let us call the young woman and ask her about it. The words hang in the air. Laban and the mother have suggested a delay. The servant has insisted on immediate departure. The agreement has been made between the men. The bride price has been paid. The gifts have been given. But now they pause. They call for Rebekah. In many ancient Near Eastern cultures, marriage arrangements were made entirely between male family members. The bride's consent was assumed, not requested. Archaeological evidence from Mesopotamian legal texts shows that fathers and brothers held authority over marriage decisions. Yet here, something different occurs. The family calls for Rebekah, ask her directly. She comes before them. The servant who met her at the well, her brother Laban, her father Bethuel, her mother, the men who traveled with the servant, all eyes turn to her. The question is simple, direct, unavoidable. Will you go with this man? 3 words in the original Hebrew. Hatelchi im haish hazeh, will you go with this man? The question contains worlds. It asks her to leave everything she has ever known, her family, her home, the streets of Nahor where she has walked since childhood, her mother's household, her friends, the well where she draws water, the familiar rhythms of daily life. It asks her to travel weeks across desert and wilderness with strangers, to marry a man she has never met, to live in a foreign land among people she does not know, to become part of a covenant she has only just heard about. The servant has told the story of Abraham's God, of promises and blessings, of Isaac, born to a woman past childbearing years, of divine guidance leading to their very door. But these are stories, claims, testimonies from a stranger, however convincing. She must choose based on faith in things unseen, on the evidence of gold jewelry and a well-told tale, on the conviction of her family that this comes from the Lord, on something stirring in her own heart that whispers, "This is your path." She could ask for the 10 days her family suggested, time to think, to prepare, to say proper farewells, time to strengthen her resolve or discover her doubts. She could refuse entirely. The question itself implies that possibility. Will you go? Allows for I will not go. Her family has given her the choice. She could remain in Nahor. Another bride could be sought. Another way forward could be found. She stands at a crossroads. One path leads back to everything known and safe. The other leads into complete uncertainty, upheld only by faith that the God of Abraham has ordained this union. The moment stretches. Everyone waits. Her answer comes, I will go. 2 words in Hebrew, elech. I will go. No hesitation, no request for time, no conditions or negotiations, no tearful doubts or fearful questions, pure decision, clear resolve, I will go. The words change everything. The agreement sealed between men becomes a covenant entered by choice. The bride price paid by Abraham's servant is met by Rebekah's willing acceptance. The mission that brought the servant across hundreds of miles finds its fulfillment in 2 words from a young woman's lips. Her family blesses her. Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the cities of their enemies. The blessing echoes the promise given to Abraham. They speak of nations, of multitudes, of victory. They place upon her the weight of destiny, the hope of generations. They release her into a future they cannot see but somehow recognize as ordained. Rebekah and her female servants get ready. They mount the camels. There is no drawn-out farewell, no 10 days of preparation. She has said yes, and she acts on that yes immediately. Her nurse, traditionally named Deborah, accompanies her. At least one familiar face will travel with her into the unknown. The presence of attendants indicates Rebekah's status. She does not go as a servant, but as a bride of rank and honor. The caravan prepares to depart. The camels are loaded. The gifts are secured. Abraham's servant has accomplished his mission. He found the woman through miraculous guidance. The family agreed. Most remarkably, the bride herself has chosen to go. They leave Nahor. The city where Rebekah was born fades behind them. Her family watches from the gates. Her mother's household grows distant. Everything familiar shrinks into memory. Ahead lies weeks of travel, desert, wilderness, the heat of day and cold of night, the steady rhythm of camel steps, the dust of the journey. And at the end, a man she has never met, a home she has never seen, a God she is learning to trust. But she has made her choice. 2 words that cannot be taken back. 2 words that will echo through the generations. 2 words that make her more than a bride selected by others. I will go. She goes. The camels move south and west. The servant who prayed at the well now travels with his prayer answered. The oath sworn to Abraham moves toward fulfillment. The covenant promise continues its march through history. And Rebekah, who could have asked for time, who could have refused, who could have demanded assurances, Rebekah has chosen her destiny. She rides toward it without looking back. The meeting, a tent of destiny. The caravan moves steadily toward Canaan. Days blend into weeks. The landscape changes. The river plains of Mesopotamia give way to drier terrain. The camels plod onward, faithful and tireless. Rebekah rides in silence often. The servant has told her about Isaac, about Abraham, about the promise of descendants as numerous as the stars. She carries these stories with her, turning them over in her mind like precious stones. She has left everything on faith, on the testimony of strangers and the conviction of her own heart, on 2 words spoken without hesitation. I will go. Now she lives inside those words, moving toward their fulfillment with every step the camels take. The journey is long. Ancient trade routes between Mesopotamia and Canaan required 3 to 4 weeks of steady travel. Time enough to wonder, time enough to doubt, time enough to imagine the man waiting at the end of this journey. What is Isaac like? The servant has spoken of him with respect as the sole heir of a wealthy and godly man. But what of his character, his appearance, his heart? She knows he is 40 years old, twice her likely age. She knows his mother died 3 years earlier. She knows he lives in the Negev region, the southern territory of Canaan. But knowing facts is not the same as knowing a person. She rides toward a man who is still, in every way that matters, a stranger. The caravan enters Canaan. They pass through territories held by various peoples: Canaanites, Perizzites, Hittites. Abraham lives among them, but apart from them, keeping the worship of the Lord while dwelling in their land. They approach the region where Abraham has settled. The Negev stretches before them, dry, rugged, marked by wadis and scattered vegetation. This is the land promised to Abraham's descendants. This is where the covenant promise will grow. Evening comes. The sun drops toward the western horizon. The light turns golden, then amber. Shadows lengthen across the fields. Rebekah looks up. In the distance, she sees a figure, a man walking alone in a field. The text gives us a rare glimpse into Isaac's interior life. He has gone out to the field to meditate in the evening. The Hebrew word suggests deep thought, prayer, contemplation. Ancient Jewish commentary proposes that Isaac established the custom of evening prayer, finding in the quiet hours between day and night a time to commune with God. He walks alone. His mother's tent has been empty for 3 years. Abraham sent the servant to find him a wife, but Isaac does not know if the mission has succeeded. He prays. He meditates. He waits. Then he looks up. He sees camels approaching, a caravan. Could it be? Rebekah sees him looking toward them. She asks the servant, "Who is that man in the field coming to meet us?" "He is my master," the servant replies. The moment has arrived, the end of the journey, the beginning of everything else. Rebekah acts immediately. She takes her veil and covers herself. The gesture follows ancient custom. A betrothed woman veiling herself before her husband-to-be was a sign of modesty and respect. Some scholars suggest it also symbolized the transition from maiden to wife, a visible marker of her changing status. She dismounts. Isaac approaches. The servant tells Isaac all he has done, every detail of the journey, the prayer at the well, Rebekah's fulfillment of the sign, her family's recognition of divine guidance, her immediate agreement to come. Isaac listens. He sees this woman who traveled so far on faith, who left her family based on a servant's testimony, who chose him without ever meeting him. He takes Rebekah into his mother's tent. The detail matters profoundly. Sarah's tent has stood empty since her death. In patriarchal culture, the matriarch's tent was the heart of the household, the place of authority, nurture, and continuity. By bringing Rebekah into Sarah's tent, Isaac honors her as the new matriarch. The covenant promise carried through Sarah now passes to Rebekah. Isaac marries her. She becomes his wife. The union is consummated. The covenant continues. Then comes a statement rare in ancient texts for its emotional honesty. Isaac loved her, and he was comforted after his mother's death. The grief that has shadowed Isaac for 3 years begins to lift. Sarah's death left a void. Abraham sent the servant to find a wife, but perhaps even more, Isaac needed comfort, companionship, someone to fill the empty tent and the empty places in his heart. Rebekah brings that comfort, the woman who chose to come, who answered, "I will go," without hesitation, who traveled across wilderness and desert to reach a man she had never met. She fills Sarah's tent. She takes the matriarch's place. She begins her life as Isaac's wife. The sun sets fully. The caravan settles in. Abraham's servant has completed his oath. The mission is fulfilled. The promise moves forward. In Sarah's tent, Isaac and Rebekah begin their life together. They do not yet know what challenges await them. They do not yet know the struggles and sorrows they will face. They do not yet know the sons who will be born to them, or the conflicts those sons will bring. For now there is only this: a tent that was empty, now filled. A man who was alone, now comforted. A woman who chose an unknown future, now arrived at her destiny. The field where Isaac walked in meditation grows dark. The camels rest after their long journey. The servants settle in for the night. And in Sarah's tent, the covenant promise finds its new home. The matriarch's mantle passes to a woman who proved herself worthy at a well in a distant land. A woman who drew water beyond what was asked. A woman who said yes when asked if she would go. She has arrived. The journey is complete. The next chapter begins. The barrenness and the prayer, a crisis of the promise. 20 years pass. Isaac and Rebekah live together in the Negev. Abraham dies at the age of 175, full of years and gathered to his people. Isaac and his half-brother Ishmael bury their father in the cave of Machpelah beside Sarah. The inheritance passes fully to Isaac now. The wealth, the herds, the promise. Everything Abraham received from God now rests on Isaac's shoulders. But the promise requires descendants. Nations and kings must come from Abraham's line. The covenant must pass to the next generation. Children must be born. Rebekah remains barren. Month after month, year after year, no conception occurs. The woman who came so far to bear the children of promise cannot conceive. The tent that was empty when she arrived stays empty of the sounds of children. The situation grows more desperate with time. Rebekah is not just any wife hoping for children. She is the covenant bearer, the matriarch. Her womb must open for the promise to continue. Without children, the entire divine plan falters. Ancient Near Eastern cultures viewed barrenness as a curse, a sign of divine disfavor. Rebekah came to Isaac through miraculous guidance. The prayer at the well was answered perfectly. The family recognized God's hand in the match. She herself chose to go based on faith. Yet now, her womb stays closed. The promise seems blocked. The very purpose for which she was brought to Canaan appears thwarted. Medical understanding in the ancient world attributed barrenness to various causes: divine judgment, spiritual impurity, physical defect. Modern medicine recognizes many factors that can prevent conception. But in Rebekah's time, a barren woman carried shame, questions, whispers. Is this the woman chosen by God? Why does her womb not open? Has she somehow failed? Has God withdrawn his favor? The text does not tell us Rebekah's private anguish. We can only imagine. She left everything, family, homeland security, to come to Isaac and bear children of promise. Now she stands in Sarah's tent wearing Sarah's mantle, unable to do what Sarah eventually did, unable to give Isaac a son. Isaac watches his wife's pain. He sees the months turn into years. He knows the promise. He knows the covenant. He knows that everything depends on children being born. He does what his father did not do. He prays. The text is simple but profound. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Abraham, when faced with Sarah's barrenness, took matters into his own hands. He fathered Ishmael through Hagar, trying to fulfill the promise through human effort. The decision brought years of pain and conflict. Isaac chooses a different path. He prays, he brings his wife's barrenness directly to God. He asks the Lord to intervene. The prayer is not long, we are not given the words, but the action speaks volumes. Isaac recognizes that this is not a problem he can solve. This is not something wealth or wisdom or human planning can fix. This requires divine intervention. He prays on behalf of Rebekah. The Hebrew construction emphasizes that he prays for her specifically, concerning her situation. He intercedes. He brings her need before God as his own need. In this act, Isaac shows faith that surpasses his father's. He does not seek another woman. He does not devise an alternate plan. He simply prays and waits for God to answer. The Lord answers. The Lord heard Isaac's prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. After 20 years of barrenness, the womb opens. After 20 years of waiting, conception occurs. After 20 years of silence, life begins to form. The answer is complete and unambiguous. God responds to Isaac's prayer directly. No angels appear with announcements, no dramatic visions unfold, just the simple, miraculous reality. Rebekah conceives. Isaac is 60 when the twins are conceived. After 20 years of waiting, conception finally occurs. They have lived together for 2 decades without children. Now, finally, the promise moves forward. But the pregnancy is not peaceful. Something is wrong. A violent struggle occurs within her womb. The Hebrew word suggests unusual turmoil, not normal fetal movement, but something more intense, more distressing. The babies, for there are 2, fight inside her. The conflict that will define the next generation begins before birth. The struggle for supremacy, for blessing, for inheritance starts in the womb. Rebekah, after 20 years of barrenness, now experiences a pregnancy so difficult that she questions it. If it is like this, why am I alive? The translation varies. Some render it, why is this happening to me? Others suggest, why do I exist? The statement reveals her distress. She has waited so long for children. Now that conception has occurred, the pregnancy itself brings agony. The struggle within her is violent enough that she wonders if life is worth living this way. She makes a decision. She goes to inquire of the Lord. The text does not explain how she inquires. Does she go to a place of worship? Does she pray at a specific location? Does she seek a prophet or priest? The mechanics are unclear. What is clear is that Rebekah, like Isaac, brings her distress directly to God. She does not simply endure. She does not accept suffering passively. She seeks divine explanation. She asks God directly what is happening. In this act, Rebekah shows herself to be a woman of faith and initiative. She does not wait for her husband to inquire for her. She goes herself. She seeks the Lord on her own behalf. The barrenness that plagued 20 years is broken. The prayer that Isaac prayed is answered. The womb that was closed now holds life. But the struggle within suggests that the answer to one crisis has birthed another. The children coming are not united. The promise continuing will not unfold peacefully. Rebekah has sought the Lord. Now she waits for his answer. What God tells her will shape everything that follows. The oracle she is about to receive will guide her choices, justify her actions, and haunt her days. The pregnancy continues. The struggle intensifies, and Rebekah, who came to Isaac through divine guidance, now seeks divine guidance again for the children in her womb. The answer is coming. It will be more than she expects. It will reveal destinies and conflicts that will span generations. It will give her knowledge that becomes both gift and burden. She has inquired of the Lord. Soon, the Lord will answer. The struggle within, an oracle of conflict, Rebekah waits. The struggle in her womb continues. The violence of the movements within her is unlike anything expected in pregnancy. Two lives fight for space, for position, for dominance. She has inquired of the Lord. Now comes his response. The oracle God gives Rebekah is rare in Scripture, a divine word spoken directly to a woman, revealing the destiny of nations. The Lord answers, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. The words carry immense weight. They explain the struggle. They reveal what is happening inside her. But more than that, they predict the future. 2 nations, not just 2 children, but 2 peoples, 2 separate lineages that will grow into distinct populations. The struggle in the womb foreshadows a struggle that will continue through generations. One people will be stronger than the other. Power will not be equally distributed. One will rise while the other remains lesser. One will dominate while the other serves. Then comes the shocking reversal. The older will serve the younger. In ancient Near Eastern culture, this statement defies every social norm. The firstborn son held supreme status. He received the primary inheritance, typically a double portion. He carried the family name forward. He assumed leadership of the clan. His rights were protected by law and custom. Archaeological evidence from Mesopotamian legal codes shows that primogeniture, the right of the firstborn, was foundational to ancient society. The oldest son inherited authority, property, and blessing. Younger sons received lesser portions and subordinate roles. But God declares the opposite. The younger will rule. The older will serve. The natural order will be reversed. Rebekah receives this oracle alone. The text does not mention Isaac present. She inquires of the Lord, and she receives the answer. This knowledge becomes hers to carry, to interpret, to act upon. The oracle explains her suffering. The violent struggle is not random, it is prophetic. The children fight for position because their destinies are in conflict. Nations war within her because nations will war through them. But the oracle also burdens her. She knows something about her son's futures that will shape how she sees them, treats them, plans for them. She knows that the natural order, the firstborn's right, must be overturned. She knows that the younger son is chosen. Does she tell Isaac? The text never says. Perhaps she shares the oracle. Perhaps she keeps it to herself. The silence on this point is significant. When the critical moment comes years later, Rebekah will act with determination and secrecy. She will execute a plan that suggests she alone knows what must happen. For now, she carries the knowledge. She endures the pregnancy. The struggle continues until the time of delivery arrives. The birth itself is dramatic. The first child emerges. He is red all over like a hairy garment. They name him Esau, a name connected to his unusual appearance. Redness and hair mark him from birth. Then comes the second child. As he is born, his hand grasps Esau's heel. The image is striking, one infant clutching the ankle of the other, as if trying to hold him back to prevent him from being first, to supplant him even in the act of birth. They name him Jacob. The name connects to the Hebrew word for heel, Akiv. Jacob, the heel grasper, the supplanter, the one who comes second but reaches for first place. The names prove prophetic. Esau's redness and hairiness will define him, a man of the field, ruddy, rough. Jacob's grasping will define him, a man who schemes, who takes what belongs to others, who fights for blessing and position. Rebekah looks at her sons, two nations. She holds the oracle in her heart. She knows what God said. The older will serve the younger. This hairy, red firstborn will one day bow to his smooth-skinned twin. Isaac is 60 years old when the twins are born. He has waited through 20 years of barrenness and then through the difficult pregnancy. Now he has two sons, heirs. The promise continues through them. But already in their birth, conflict appears. Already, the struggle that began in the womb continues into the world. Jacob grasps Esau's heel. The younger reaches for the older's position. The oracle begins its fulfillment from the first moment of life. The twins grow. The differences become more pronounced. Esau becomes a skilled hunter, a man of the open country. He loves the outdoors, the chase, the wild places. His personality is direct, physical, immediate. Jacob is different. He is a quiet man, staying among the tents. The Hebrew suggests he is complete, whole, at peace in domestic spaces. He is thoughtful, careful, planning. The parents develop preferences. Isaac loves Esau because he enjoys eating the wild game Esau brings home. The taste of venison pleases the old patriarch. He favors the son who hunts. Rebekah loves Jacob. The text does not explain why, but the oracle provides context. She knows what God said. She knows the younger is chosen. Perhaps her love flows from that knowledge. Perhaps she sees in Jacob the vessel of promise. Perhaps she simply connects with his quieter nature. The favoritism will prove destructive. A house divided by parental preference is a house prepared for conflict. Isaac and Rebekah do not present a united front. They each champion one son against the other. The boys grow into men. The conflict grows with them. The struggle that began in the womb, that marked their birth, that shaped their development, now moves toward its critical moment. Esau returns from the field one day, exhausted and famished. Jacob is cooking stew. The aroma fills the camp. Red lentil stew, hot and savory. Esau demands food. Let me eat some of that red stuff. I am exhausted. His directness, his focus on immediate physical need, his lack of thought for consequences, these traits define him. Jacob sees opportunity. He has watched his brother enjoy the privileges of the firstborn for years. He has lived as the second son, the younger twin, the one whose hand grasped but did not overcome. Now he proposes a transaction. Sell me your birthright first, the birthright, the legal right of the firstborn, the double portion of inheritance, the leadership of the family, the primary blessing, everything that makes Esau the heir and Jacob the spare. Esau's response reveals his character. Look, I am about to die of hunger. What good is a birthright to me? He exaggerates his hunger. He is not dying. He is tired and famished from hunting, but he is not starving. Yet in his mind, the immediate need for food outweighs the long-term value of his position. Jacob presses. Swear to me first. He wants the transaction binding. He wants no chance of Esau changing his mind later. Esau swears. He gives up his birthright for a meal. Jacob gives him bread and lentil stew. Esau eats and drinks, gets up and leaves. The text adds a devastating assessment. So Esau despised his birthright. He does not value what he was born with. He trades eternal inheritance for temporary satisfaction. He gives away what generations of his descendants might have enjoyed for the sake of one meal. Jacob takes it. He has bought the birthright. He has used his brother's weakness and his own cunning to acquire what birth did not give him. The heel grasper has lived up to his name. The transaction is complete, but a birthright bought is not the same as a blessing given. The father's blessing still remains with Isaac. Until that blessing is spoken, the birthright is only a claim, not a reality. Rebekah watches her sons. She knows the oracle. She knows what must happen. She has seen Jacob acquire the birthright, but she also knows that Isaac favors Esau. She knows that when the time comes for the blessing, Isaac will try to give it to his firstborn. The oracle said the older will serve the younger. The birthright is now Jacob's. But the blessing that makes the birthright effective still needs to be secured. The stage is set. The pieces are in position. The conflict that began in the womb, that marked the birth, that was prophesied by God himself, moves toward its climax. Rebekah carries the knowledge. Jacob carries the birthright. Isaac carries the blessing. Esau carries nothing but his appetite and his father's favor. Soon, all of this will collide. The matriarch who received the oracle will act to ensure its fulfillment. The younger son who grasped his brother's heel will grasp his brother's blessing. The father who loved his firstborn will be deceived. The firstborn who despised his birthright will lose his blessing. The struggle continues. The nations within Rebekah's womb have grown into men. Now their destinies will be decided. The wife, the sister, a repeated deception. Before the final crisis unfolds, a disturbing pattern repeats itself. The covenant family, for all its divine favor, carries deep flaws. Isaac, like his father before him, resorts to deception when fear grips him. A famine comes to the land. Ancient Canaan suffered periodic droughts. When rain failed and crops withered, survival meant moving to regions with water and food. Isaac prepares to go down to Egypt, following the route his father Abraham took during an earlier famine. But God appears to Isaac. Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and bless you. God renews the covenant. He repeats the promises made to Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. I will give them all these lands. Through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. Isaac obeys. Instead of going to Egypt, he settles in Gerar, in the territory of the Philistines. Their king is Abimelech, the same title, possibly the same dynasty, as the king Abraham encountered decades earlier. Isaac lives among the Philistines. Rebekah is with him. She is beautiful. The same quality that was noted when she first appeared at the well still marks her. Years of marriage have not diminished her appearance. Isaac grows afraid the men of this place might take Rebekah and harm him to get her. The fear that gripped Abraham grips his son. The solution Isaac chooses mirrors his father's deception. When the men of Gerar ask about Rebekah, Isaac says, "She is my sister." The lie is identical to Abraham's lie about Sarah. In both cases, the patriarch fears that his wife's beauty will lead to his death. In both cases, he protects himself by denying the marriage. In both cases, he places his wife in a vulnerable position to save his own life. Rebekah becomes sister instead of wife. She is exposed to potential advances from men who believe she is unmarried. Isaac's fear makes him willing to risk her honor to preserve his life. Time passes. Isaac's deception remains undetected, and the king Abimelech looks out a window and sees Isaac caressing Rebekah. The Hebrew word suggests intimacy, affection beyond what brothers and sisters share. The action reveals the truth. Abimelech summons Isaac. She is really your wife. Why did you say, "She is my sister"? Isaac gives the expected answer, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Abimelech responds with anger and astonishment. "What is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." The pagan king recognizes the moral danger Isaac's lie created. He sees the potential for grave wrong. His rebuke shames Isaac. The man chosen by God to carry the covenant forward has acted with less honor than the foreign ruler. Abimelech issues orders to all the people. Anyone who harms this man or his wife will be put to death. He protects Isaac and Rebekah by decree, ensuring their safety despite Isaac's deception. The incident reveals the pattern of sin that runs through the covenant family. Abraham lied about Sarah. Isaac lies about Rebekah. Fear of man overshadows trust in God. Self-preservation trumps integrity. But it also reveals something about Rebekah's position. She is valued for her beauty. She is used as a shield by her husband. She endures being called sister when she is wife. She lives with the knowledge that Isaac would risk her virtue to save his life. Does this experience shape her view of Isaac? Does it affect her trust in his judgment? When the time comes for her to act independently, to execute a plan without his knowledge, does she remember this moment when he put his safety above hers? The text does not say, but the pattern is clear. Rebekah is a woman living in a patriarchal culture where even godly men make choices that serve themselves first. She is a woman who has been asked to trust, to submit, to follow, and who has seen the men around her act with less than perfect wisdom. She carries the oracle. She knows what God said about her sons. She has watched her husband favor Esau, the son who despised his birthright. She has seen Jacob acquire that birthright through a transaction. She knows that Isaac's love for Esau is tied to his stomach. He enjoys the game Esau hunts. She knows that Isaac's judgment can be clouded by physical pleasures and immediate fears. She knows that sometimes the patriarch does not act in accordance with God's will. All of this prepares her for what is coming, the moment when she will have to choose whether to trust Isaac's blessing or to intervene, the moment when she will act on the oracle she received, the moment when she will become not just the matriarch of the household, but the architect of destiny. For now, she lives in Gerar under Abimelech's protection. Isaac prospers there. He plants crops and reaps 100 times what he sows. His flocks and herds increase. He becomes wealthy and powerful. The Philistines grow envious. They fill in the wells Abraham's servants dug. They drive Isaac away. He moves to the valley of Gerar and digs new wells. Disputes arise over water rights. He digs again. Finally, he finds space where no one quarrels with him. Through all of this, Rebekah is with him, the wife called sister, the matriarch carrying an oracle, the mother of 2 sons whose struggle will shape nations. She watches. She remembers. She prepares, though she may not know it yet, for the day when she will have to act decisively to ensure that God's word comes to pass. That day is approaching. Isaac grows old, his eyes dim, the time for blessing draws near, and Rebekah will be ready. The stolen blessing, the matriarch's gambit. Isaac is old. His eyes are weak. He can no longer see clearly. The blindness is not just physical. He does not see that Esau despised his birthright. He does not see that Jacob bought it. He does not see, or chooses not to see, what God intended. He calls for Esau. "My son, here I am," Esau responds. Isaac speaks. "I am now an old man and do not know the day of my death. Take your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." The blessing, the final irrevocable word of the patriarch that determines inheritance, status, and destiny. Isaac prepares to give it to Esau. He asks for the meal first. His love for Esau is tied to his taste for wild game. Even in this sacred moment, physical appetite drives his decision. He wants the food he enjoys, then he will bless the son who provides it. Rebekah is listening. The detail is emphasized. She hears every word Isaac speaks to Esau. She knows what is about to happen. She acts immediately. She calls Jacob. "Listen, I heard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.'" She repeats the conversation. She makes sure Jacob understands what is happening. Then she gives her command. "Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then you will take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies." The plan is bold and risky. She will cook goat meat and make it taste like wild game. Jacob will impersonate Esau. Isaac, blind and expecting his firstborn, will give the blessing to the wrong son. Jacob sees the flaw immediately. "Esau is a hairy man while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." His objection is practical, not moral. He does not refuse to deceive his father. He worries about being caught. Rebekah's response is fierce. "My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get the goats for me." She takes full responsibility. She accepts any curse that might result. She removes Jacob's objection and doubles down on her command. "Do what I say." Jacob obeys. He brings the goats. Rebekah prepares the food exactly as Isaac likes it. Then she takes Esau's best clothes, kept at home rather than worn in the field, and puts them on Jacob. But the smooth skin remains a problem. She solves it with remarkable ingenuity. She covers Jacob's hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat skins. The texture of the hide mimics Esau's hairiness. She gives Jacob the food and bread she has prepared. Everything is ready. Jacob must now execute the deception. He goes to his father. "My father." "Yes," Isaac responds. "Who is it, my son?" The question hangs in the air. Who is it? Identity is everything in this moment. The blessing will go to the firstborn. The name spoken will determine destiny. Jacob lies. "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." The lie is direct and complete. "I am Esau. Not here is food or the game you requested." He claims his brother's identity. Isaac is surprised. "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" Jacob compounds the deception. He brings God into his lie. "The Lord your God gave me success." He attributes his speed to divine favor. He makes God complicit in his fraud. The words are calculated to reassure Isaac that this is indeed providential. But Isaac remains suspicious. "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob approaches. The moment of greatest danger. His father's hands reach out. They touch Jacob's hands. They feel the goatskin covering. Isaac speaks his confusion. The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. His senses conflict. His ears hear one son, his hands feel another. He is blind. He must rely on touch, the goatskin's work. He asks again, "Are you really my son Esau?" "I am," Jacob replies. The second direct lie. Isaac says, "Bring me some of your game to eat so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brings the food. Isaac eats. He brings him wine. Isaac drinks. Then Isaac says, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." Jacob comes close and kisses him. Isaac smells his clothes, Esau's clothes that Jacob wears. The smell of the fields is on them, the scent of Esau's life. Isaac is finally convinced. He begins the blessing. "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed." Then comes the blessing itself. "May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." The words are irrevocable. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back. Ancient Near Eastern blessings carried legal and spiritual weight. They determined inheritance and status. Isaac has blessed Jacob with supremacy over his brothers, with abundance, with the service of nations. The oracle Rebekah received is fulfilled through deception. The older will serve the younger. Isaac has just declared it, though he thinks he is blessing Esau. Jacob leaves his father's presence. The moment he is gone, Esau arrives. He has hunted. He has prepared the tasty food. He brings it to his father. "My father, sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asks, "Who are you?" "I am your son," Esau replies, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembles violently. The realization crashes over him. "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." The words repeat, "He will be blessed." Even in his shock, Isaac recognizes that the blessing cannot be revoked. What has been spoken stands. Esau cries out, a loud and bitter cry, "Bless me too, my father." The anguish in his voice is palpable. He has been supplanted. The birthright he sold for stew has been confirmed by a blessing he did not receive. Isaac explains, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau responds, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." He remembers the stew. He connects the two thefts. Jacob has twice taken what Esau considered his. He pleads, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac's answer is devastating. "I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" The blessing given to Jacob is comprehensive. It leaves nothing of substance for Esau. The firstborn has become the servant. The younger has become the lord. Esau weeps aloud, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Isaac gives what he can. "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." It is a blessing of sorts, but it confirms Jacob's supremacy. Esau will serve his brother. He may eventually rebel, but the relationship of lord and servant has been established. Esau holds a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing. He says to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will take the life of my brother Jacob." The words reach Rebekah. Someone tells her what Esau plans. Her scheme has succeeded, but at terrible cost. Her sons are now mortal enemies. One plans to end the life of the other. She calls Jacob. "Your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by taking your life. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides." She sends him away. The son she loved, the one she schemed for, must leave. She will not see him for decades. Some traditions suggest she never sees him again before her death. She tells Isaac a different reason. "I am disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, From Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living. She uses the excuse of finding a proper wife for Jacob. She does not tell Isaac about Esau's murderous intent. She manipulates her husband one more time to send Jacob away for his safety. Isaac calls Jacob and blesses him again. Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there, from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. He sends Jacob away with his blessing. Jacob leaves for Haran. He flees his brother's rage. He carries the blessing and the birthright. He leaves behind his father, his mother, his home. Rebekah watches him go. The oracle is fulfilled. The younger has received the blessing. The older will serve him, but the cost is immense. Her family is shattered. Her sons are divided. Her favored child is exiled. She acted to ensure God's word came to pass. She took destiny into her own hands. She deceived her husband and sent her son to deceive him as well. Was she right? Was she wrong? The text does not explicitly judge. It reports her actions and their consequences. The blessing she secured for Jacob stands, but so does the price she pays. The tent of the matriarch, once filled with hope, now echoes with absence. Jacob is gone. Esau seethes with hatred. Isaac has been deceived. Rebekah has won and lost everything. The bitter recoil, a family shattered. Jacob is gone. The son who grasped his brother's heel at birth has now grasped his blessing and fled. The road to Haran stretches before him, the same journey his grandfather Abraham's servant made to find Rebekah decades ago. Rebekah stands in the wreckage of her choices. She told Jacob, "Stay with Laban for a while until your brother's fury subsides." The words suggest a temporary separation, a brief exile until Esau cools down. Then Jacob can return. But a while becomes 20 years. The temporary becomes permanent. She will not see her favored son again, or if she does, the text does not record it. Esau remains, the son she did not favor, the one who despised his birthright, the one whose blessing was stolen. He lives nearby, carrying his grudge like a wound that will not heal. The hatred Esau feels toward Jacob is not simply anger over the stolen blessing. It is the accumulation of a lifetime. The younger twin who emerged grasping his heel. The brother who bought his birthright for a bowl of stew. The schemer who disguised himself and stole the final blessing. All of it compounds into a murderous rage. Ancient Near Eastern culture took the death of parents seriously. Mourning periods were prescribed. Respect for the dying father demanded restraint. Esau will not act while Isaac lives. But when the patriarch dies, when the mourning ends, then Esau plans his revenge. The text says he will take the life of Jacob. The euphemism softens the intent, but the meaning is clear. Esau plans to end his brother permanently. He will avenge the theft. He will reclaim what dignity he can through violence. Someone tells Rebekah, perhaps a servant overhears Esau's words. Perhaps Esau speaks openly of his plans. However the information reaches her, Rebekah knows her son is in danger. She acts to save Jacob's life. But she cannot tell Isaac the truth. She cannot say Esau plans vengeance. Isaac might intervene. Isaac might confront Esau. Isaac might refuse to send Jacob away, believing he can reconcile his sons. So Rebekah uses another reason. She complains about Esau's wives. I am disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, my life will not be worth living. The complaint is not entirely false. Esau has married Canaanite women, Judith and Basemath, and the text earlier noted that they were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Marrying outside the covenant family caused tension. But this is not Rebekah's real concern in this moment. Her real concern is keeping Jacob alive. She uses the marriage issue as leverage to convince Isaac to send Jacob away. Isaac agrees. He calls Jacob, blesses him, and commands him not to marry a Canaanite woman. Go to Paddan Aram. Find a wife among your mother's relatives. The same instruction Abraham gave his servant decades earlier. Jacob departs. He takes nothing but his father's blessing and his mother's warning. No wealth, no servants, no caravan. He flees alone quickly before Esau can act. Rebekah watches him disappear into the distance. She has saved his life. She has ensured the blessing remains with him. She has fulfilled the oracle she received. But she has lost her son, the child she loved, the quiet one who stayed among the tents, the one she championed, advised, dressed in his brother's clothes, and sent to deceive his father. He is gone. She told him the exile would be brief. Stay with Laban for a while until your brother's fury subsides. She believed it would be temporary. She thought Esau's anger would cool. She expected Jacob to return. But fury like Esau's does not cool quickly. The wound is too deep, the shame too great, the sense of betrayal too profound. Esau sees Jacob's departure. He sees his parents' favor toward his brother even now. He sees that his father sends Jacob to find a proper wife, implying Esau's own choices were wrong. In response, Esau tries to please his father. He goes to Ishmael's family and marries Mahalath, the daughter of Abraham's first son. He thinks this will show that he too can marry within the family line. He thinks this will win back his father's approval. But the damage is done. The blessing belongs to Jacob. The birthright is his. Esau's additional marriage cannot reverse what has been spoken. The family has fractured completely. Jacob is in exile. Esau is alienated. Isaac has been deceived. Rebekah has orchestrated it all and now lives with the consequences. The text becomes silent about Rebekah's daily life. We are not told her thoughts. We do not hear her prayers. We do not see her grief. But we can imagine. She sits in Sarah's tent, the tent she entered as a bride full of hope and faith. She came to Isaac believing she was part of a divine plan. She conceived after 20 years of barrenness. She received an oracle directly from God. She bore 2 sons who would become 2 nations. And now those sons are separated by hatred and distance. One plots vengeance, one flees for his life. The mother who loved them both has chosen one over the other and lost them both. Did she believe she had no choice? Did she think Isaac would give the blessing to the wrong son if she did not intervene? Did the oracle she received justify in her mind the deception she orchestrated? The text does not answer. It simply shows the cost. The family is broken. The trust is shattered. The mother who chose her favored son's destiny has ensured her own isolation. Isaac lives on, blind and old, unaware of the full extent of what happened. He gave his blessing thinking he blessed Esau. When the truth emerged, he trembled but confirmed the blessing. Indeed, he will be blessed. He accepted what was done, perhaps recognizing God's hand in it despite the deception. But does he trust Rebekah afterward? Does he see her as partner or as manipulator? The text gives no more conversations between them. They exist side by side, but the intimacy suggested in their early years, Isaac was comforted after his mother's death, seems distant now. Rebekah lives with what she has done. She secured the blessing for the chosen son. She fulfilled the oracle. She acted to ensure God's will came to pass. But she did it through lies, through deception, through using her son as an instrument of fraud, through manipulating her husband, through dividing her family. Was there another way? Could she have told Isaac the oracle? Could she have persuaded him to bless Jacob willingly? Could she have trusted God to fulfill his word without her intervention? These questions linger. The text does not condemn her explicitly, but it does not celebrate her either. It shows her actions and their consequences with unflinching clarity. She sits in her tent. Her favored son is gone. Her other son seethes with hatred. Her husband has been deceived. The unity of the family is destroyed. She told Jacob she would send word when it was safe to return. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I will send word for you to come back from there. She waits for that day. She watches for Esau's anger to fade. She hopes to see Jacob again, but Esau does not forget. The anger does not subside. The years pass. Jacob does not return. Rebekah grows old. She lives in the land of promise, the matriarch of the covenant people. She holds her position. She maintains her dignity. But she does so alone, separated from the son she loved most. The oracle said 2 nations were in her womb. The oracle said the older would serve the younger. The oracle has been fulfilled. But the personal cost of that fulfillment is devastating. Rebekah has ensured destiny at the price of family. She has secured blessing at the cost of relationship. She has acted for God's purposes and lost what mattered most to her heart. She sits in Sarah's tent. She remembers the day she arrived, the stranger at the well, the prayer answered, the immediate consent, I will go, the journey across the desert, the meeting in the field, Isaac's love, his comfort. All of that seems distant now. The tent is still hers, but it feels emptier with each passing year. Jacob does not return. Esau remains bitter. Isaac ages. Rebekah waits. The blessing is secured. The promise continues. The covenant moves forward through Jacob's line, just as God declared. But Rebekah, the woman who helped make it happen, does so from a place of profound loss. She chose destiny over family. She chose oracle over relationship. She chose to act rather than to trust. And now she lives with that choice, day after day, year after year, waiting for word that never comes, hoping for a reunion that does not occur, carrying the knowledge that she was right about God's will and the grief that being right cost her everything she loved. The tent stands, the matriarch remains, but the joy is gone, the hope is tempered. The future is secured for her descendants, but her present is marked by absence. She waits, and the silence stretches on. The final silence, a destiny fulfilled, a legacy of division. The years pass. Jacob does not return. The text moves to follow his story in Haran, his service to Laban, his marriages to Leah and Rachel, the birth of his children, his eventual wealth and escape back toward Canaan. Rebekah disappears from the narrative. After sending Jacob away, after orchestrating the blessing, after fracturing her family, she simply vanishes from the active story. The Bible does not record her death. It does not describe her final days. It does not tell us if she ever saw Jacob again. The only reference to her death comes much later, almost as an afterthought. When Jacob returns to Canaan after 20 years and eventually goes to Hebron, we learn that Rebekah is buried in the cave of Machpelah. The text mentions it in passing. Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, and Leah all rest there. That is all. No death scene, no final words, no mourning described, just the bare fact that she died and was buried in the family tomb with the other patriarchs and matriarchs. The silence is striking. Rebekah was a central figure. She was chosen through miraculous guidance. She received a direct oracle from God. She shaped the destiny of nations through her actions. Yet her end goes unrecorded. Perhaps she died while Jacob was still in Haran. Perhaps she passed away before he returned, never seeing the son she loved and saved. The text gives no timeline. It offers no comfort of reunion. Some ancient Jewish traditions suggest she died of grief, separated from both sons. Jacob in exile, Esau alienated. Others propose she lived long enough to see Jacob return, but the text omits this reunion because their relationship was too complex to summarize. We do not know. The woman who spoke boldly, "I will go," falls into silence. The matriarch who acted decisively fades from view, but her legacy lives on. The oracle she received proved true. 2 nations did come from her womb. Jacob became the father of the 12 tribes, the people who would be called by his new name, the children of the one who wrestled with God. Esau became the father of the Edomites, a nation that would exist in tension with Jacob's descendants for generations. The older did serve the younger, just as God said. Esau's descendants would eventually become subject to the line of Jacob. The blessing Isaac gave Jacob, that nations would serve him and his mother's sons would bow to him, came to pass in the historical relationship between these peoples. Rebekah's actions ensured the oracle's fulfillment. Whether her intervention was necessary remains a question scholars and theologians debate. Did God need her deception to accomplish his will? Or would he have found another way if she had trusted rather than schemed? The text does not answer. It simply shows that God's word came true. The younger son received the blessing. The covenant continued through Jacob. The promise moved forward. But the cost was real. Rebekah paid for her certainty with her family's peace. She gained the future but lost the present. She secured destiny but destroyed daily life. Her story reveals the complexity of faith. She believed God's oracle. She acted on that belief. Yet her methods involved deception, manipulation, and division. She was both faithful to the divine word and faithless in her approach to human relationships. She stands as a matriarch of strength and initiative. Unlike Sarah, who laughed at God's promise, Rebekah received her oracle and moved to fulfill it. Unlike the passive women of many ancient stories, she shaped events rather than merely enduring them. At the well, she showed extraordinary character, generous, strong, willing to serve beyond what was asked. In marriage, she was loved and brought comfort. In barrenness, she was the subject of effective prayer. In pregnancy, she sought God's explanation for her suffering. These are the qualities of a remarkable woman, a woman of faith and action, a woman who heard from God and believed him. But her final great action, securing the blessing for Jacob, required lies, disguises, and betrayal of trust. The same initiative that made her choose to go with Abraham's servant now made her choose deception over patience. The same strength that drew water for 10 camels now pushed her to manipulate her blind husband. Her legacy is therefore mixed. She is the mother of the covenant people. She is the woman through whom God's promise continued. She is the matriarch who ensured the chosen son received the chosen blessing. But she is also the woman who divided her family, who set brother against brother in hatred that lasted generations, who deceived her husband and taught her son to do the same, who never saw the fruit of her scheming, living instead in the silence of separation. Theological traditions interpret her differently. Some see her as a hero of faith, acting courageously to ensure God's will prevailed despite Isaac's blindness and favoritism. They argue she understood the divine plan and had the strength to execute it when her husband would not. Others see her as a cautionary tale about taking matters into your own hands. They suggest she should have told Isaac the oracle, trusted God to change Isaac's heart, or simply waited for God to work without human manipulation. They point to the family's destruction as evidence that her methods were wrong, even if her goal was right. Both perspectives hold truth. Rebekah was faithful and flawed, chosen and choosing, blessed and broken. She came to Canaan full of faith. "I will go," she said, and went. She became Isaac's wife, his comfort after Sarah's death. She endured 20 years of barrenness with him. She sought God when her pregnancy troubled her. She received an oracle that set the course of nations. Then she acted on that oracle in ways that fulfilled it, but fractured everything around her. She gained the promised future, but lost her present joy. She ensured her son's blessing, but never enjoyed his presence afterward. The cave of Machpelah holds her body. She rests beside Sarah, the matriarch who came before her. She rests beside Isaac, the husband she comforted and deceived. She rests in the land of promise, the land she came to as a bride and served as matriarch. Her sons eventually reconcile. When Isaac dies, Esau and Jacob come together to bury their father. The meeting is peaceful. The murderous rage has cooled. Time and distance have done what Rebekah hoped for. Esau no longer seeks Jacob's life. But this reconciliation happens after Rebekah is gone. She does not see it. She does not know that her sons stand together again, however briefly. She dies in the silence between their separation and their reunion. Her story ends without resolution. The narrative moves on. Jacob wrestles with God, returns home, faces Esau in fear, and finds peace instead. The 12 tribes emerge. The covenant continues its march through history. And Rebekah, the woman who drew water for camels and orchestrated the theft of a blessing, who said, "I will go," and then sent her son to go, who believed God's word and acted on it with both faith and fraud, Rebekah becomes memory. She is remembered as the matriarch, the wife of Isaac, the mother of Jacob and Esau, the woman through whom the promise flowed, the mother of nations who came from struggle in her womb. But she is also a woman who lived and died in the complex space between divine calling and human choice, who heard God speak and acted on what she heard for better and worse, who shaped destiny and paid the price for shaping it. Her legacy is the people who came from her, the tribes of the covenant, the line that would lead eventually to kings and prophets and the fulfillment of ancient promises. But her personal legacy is silence. We do not know her final years. We do not know her final thoughts. We do not know if she died at peace or in regret, in faith or in sorrow. We know only that she lived a life of remarkable courage and troubling choices, that she was chosen by God and chose her own path within that choosing, that she fulfilled an oracle and lost what she loved most in the fulfillment. The well at Nahor still stands in memory, the place where she drew water for a stranger and his camels, the place where her generosity marked her as chosen, the place where her story began with pure initiative and servant-hearted action. The cave at Machpelah still stands, the place where she was laid to rest, the place where her story ends in silence, the place where she waits, buried among the patriarchs and matriarchs, remembered and forgotten, celebrated and questioned. Between the well and the cave lies a life of faith and flaws, of divine guidance and human manipulation, of remarkable beginnings and complex endings, of choices made and costs paid, of destiny fulfilled and family fractured. Rebekah's story is not simple. It does not offer easy lessons. It does not present a perfect model of faith or a clear warning of failure. Instead, it shows a woman fully human, capable of great faith and great deception, able to hear God and still act in her own strength. Chosen for divine purposes and still accountable for human choices. She stands in the sacred text as a reminder that the people God uses are not perfect, that the matriarchs who carried the promise forward were not idealized figures, but real women facing real choices. That faith and failure can coexist, that being part of God's plan does not mean being beyond reproach. Her silence at the end speaks loudly. It reminds us that some stories do not resolve neatly. Some actions have consequences that outlast our lives. Some choices bring blessing to others and pain to ourselves. She drew water at a well and said yes to destiny. She carried an oracle and acted on it. She secured a blessing and lost a son. She fulfilled God's word and fractured God's image in family unity. She was Rebekah, the woman who chose her destiny, the matriarch of nations, the mother of conflict, the faithful and the flawed, the beginning and the silence. And in that complexity, in that mixture of light and shadow, she remains achingly human. A woman whose story is told because it mattered, because she mattered, because through her, despite her, with her, God's promise marched on. The oracle was fulfilled. 2 nations came from her womb. The older served the younger. The covenant continued through the chosen line. But the woman who bore those nations, who made choices that shaped them, who lived in the tension between divine word and human action, she passed into silence. The tomb holds her body. The text holds her story. And we who read it centuries later stand at the intersection of admiration and caution, inspiration and warning, seeing in her both the power of faith acted upon and the cost of acting without wisdom. Rebekah, the woman at the well, the woman in the tent, the woman in the silence, mother of nations, mother of conflict, mother of the promise that would not die, no matter what it cost those who carried it forward. Her story is complete, her destiny fulfilled, her legacy complex, her silence eternal. And through it all, the promise continued. The covenant moved forward. The plan of God progressed with her, despite her, through her, beyond her. The story is hers, but the story is larger than her. And in that tension between personal story and divine story, between human choice and providential plan, Rebekah lives forever, remembered, questioned, honored, and pondered. The woman who chose her destiny and paid for it and secured it and lost it and fulfilled it all. Her silence speaks, her story endures, her legacy lives in the questions she leaves behind and the descendants she bore forward. Rebekah, the matriarch, the mystery, the monument to the complex beauty of faith lived in real time by real people, facing real choices with real consequences. She is gone. But her story remains, and in that remaining, she still speaks to all who hear.